So we've had a proposal for a stand for Councillor Michael Haley. It's not going to give it gets a name wrong, so make it stand up. Sorry, out there. Seconded by Councillor Peter Arnold. And all those in favour? All those against? Councillor Ross is against. So that is carried. I will hand the podium over then to.
When you are going.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Don't sit there.
Don't sit there.
No.
Okay, I'll sit. You want to go there? I'll sit in the corner.
No, you can only say that because it's got Councillor Lucas on the page.
Oh, right. That's on the assumption that Councillor Lucas is going to move on.
It might be nominated.
Sorry. That's cheers.
Okay.
Thank you all for your evidence, most of you shown in there. Item number 2 is apologies. Do you have any apologies?
No.
No apologies, thank you. And the third one is election of vice chair. Do you have any nominations?
Can I get the name right this time?
I'm stepping down as vice chairman.
Thank you. Can I get the name right this time? Can't find it.
Vince. Okay, Vince has been nominated. Any seconds? And Jasmine seconded that. Any other nominations? Right, then all those in favour?
No.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Vince, you want to come and
You sit in.
No, you can come and sit between them.
Because that
Two
way
roses.
I can see better what's going on then.
You're not going to fall off this.
Okay.
I don't think about my ears.
Congratulations, Vince.
Thank you, everybody.
Item 4 then, declarations of interest. Any declarations and disclosures? No? Thank you. So, Appendix A, agenda item 5, minutes, which is Appendix A of the last meeting. Do we have any comments on the minutes?
I don't think so.
Let that as a note. Do we have a proposal to accept them? Thank you, Stan. Seconder. Vince. Just speak there, Michael. Any, all those in favour? Thank you.
So abstentions, abstentions.
All those in favour? Those against? Were you against one?
No,
Did you
he's
vote
against
for?
I voted for.
Okay. Any abstentions? Thank you very much. Councillors, questions when you notify that person?
I did get one question, but it was too late for this meeting.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no councillors' questions this evening. Thank you. Members' reports. Do we have any members' reports? Yes.
I'm now going to have one more thing. Fine.
No.
Right, it's written out, Alice, I'm sorry, you don't have to do shorthand. Report of Oakham in Bloom meeting held at the Lord Nelson on the 13th of June 2016. Craig Howard, Lisa Bassey and Pippi Woodley sent their apologies. All's going well. All is going to plan in spite of the inclement weather for the summer bedding displays. They're still actually putting some in. They were putting some in last night. The East Midlands in Bloom, Judge Simon Lucas, no relative, will be judging Oakham on the 14th of July. Assembly point is at 9 AM. I'm invited as the tree warden, and the deputy clerk will represent the council's green flag award. Our mayor will speak to the judge and explain the jail street murals. Stan Stubbs will be the official photographer for the whole event. Fundraising is going well, although the pin stall at the Queen's birthday was a disappointment owing to the weather. Had it been hot and sunny, the stall would have made £700. The Castle Garden project is on hold and awaiting a landscape architect design. The museum garden was discussed at length. Adam Lowe, I think you were representing the friends of the museum.
Yes.
Aren't I?
Yeah.
I'm right on that. Gave a report. A solution was agreed. Then Adam left the meeting. I also mentioned the fact that it had been reported that I made a member of Oakham in Bloom committee cry. This was strongly denied. I explained that I had a long distance call from Asia with somebody inquiring about our sensory garden outside the library. The person wanted to know if I had any ideas of how to create one from scratch. When she's back in this country, I've been invited to view their garden, which will be newly created when I next visit the area, which is more local. It was interesting because this Asia, this telephone call from, well, email from Asia, had got something to do with, she's an ambassador for something or other. It's all going to plan. I can tell you, I should be going to see this sensory garden, and I will report back when I do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Any questions or comments? Yes.
One comment. I'm slightly disappointed by the comment that the pin stand was disappointing as a person who helped with the preparations of that stand. It actually raised Oakham and Bloom over £100 on that day. And to say it's disappointing is a bit, it sounds a bit negative. You know, no one's paid or anything for doing it.
Chairman,
The ladies worked extremely hard, so I just wanted to get that across, that it sounds a bit.
Can I just explain, these are not my words at all. These are the committee's words. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's noted. Any other remarks?
Just one for the band concerts. Sunday is the band concert on the 12th of June was a success. The Wrinkle Rock playing, and the band concert on Sunday was another success with Melton Brass. This week it's Ibstock Band. I look forward to the councillors coming down and enjoying the afternoon. It's a lovely afternoon and the rain held off. So I look forward to seeing you there.
Comments or questions?
No, I've not prepared anything.
It's just to say that Adam and I don't know whether anybody else went to raising of the flag for the Armed Forces Day. That's the only thing. Poured with rain, and the trolleys were up the whole of the time.
It did when I put the one in the truck.
Okay, thank you for that, all of you. Right, move on then to item 8, which is clerk's report.
I haven't got one. I didn't need to report on anything.
Okay, thank you very much. Dedicated by the public, I can't actually say any. So, this will be item 10, which is the tree surgery at Willow Crescent, and appendix C refers to this.
Yes. It'd be Joyce that's doing this one.
Okay, I understand you're giving this choice. Okay.
Well, I'm hoping everybody is ready, and I'll just sit here and wait for the questions.
Thank you very much.
It's very expensive.
Questions and or comments? Yes, Councillor Brooks.
Just a quick comment. I hope that we will be going out to tender for this work that's required. And I have read it because I read the comments about access being blocked and all sorts of things from Willowbrook, and I see that it's work that needs doing, but it's obviously going to be a very costly, extensive work programme, and I would appreciate it, without repeating myself, that we do go out to tender, please.
Well, I'm curious whether, with sort of following on from Martin really, so about going out to tender, whether these have a contract with us. Why have they done the survey? Does anybody know?
Do you mean now the contracts get them cut down, or this is what in the report?
Why was this report done in the first
Well, it was agreed through council. Was it last year? It's been already agreed that they did a full survey on all our parks, on all of them.
Right.
That was already agreed through the council.
So that was just
And
to
this
do the
company,
survey.
this company we always use for the survey.
Right, okay.
Chairman, can I go back to it then?
Yes,
Because
just
nobody has actually picked up what I was expecting to pick up. So if you look at the map, in one hand,
Can we have one person speaking, please, councillor?
sorry,
No, sorry, carry on, please.
right, page 1, 1861, Crack Road. Now, if you look where 1861 is, on the map, it's not in our bounds. I would have thought somebody would have picked that one up. But having said that, I think I know who it belongs to, but I would like the office to delve into that one a bit more. Right? 1863, Sever the Ivy. 1863, Sever the Ivy. Ivy. Please don't do it until the birds have finished nesting, and that's half an hour's work. The next page, 1864, that's a priority 1, and that will take 3 hours. 1865 is priority 1, and that will take 3 hours. Now, if we look at this note at the bottom, note the area on edge of watercourse south of, it's not Redland House, it's Rutland House, was inaccessible due to a stacked debris under conifer hedge. This is a fire hazard as it's making the area inaccessible to facilitate the assessment of the trees. It's recommended that the debris is cleared to facilitate a review of the trees within a year. Now, I think that should be cleared. And would you believe it belongs to the firm, the housing association, that also looks after Waterside. So could the chairman please delve into that one for us? It's not the Rutland House Trust, it's another housing association. So if the chairman could look, I don't know the name.
Okay, well, we'll endeavour to find out who it is and.
Right, but I think the debris needs to be removed ASAP really, for a fire hazard. A1, copies all stems. This is not a priority 3. I don't know, I've done that one. A1. No, forget that one. And G1, if you read that, far side of the watercourse from the allotments, the hedge beyond is the assumed boundary. This would be confirmed prior to undertaking the work. So we need to know whose trees those are,
Which tree was that?
G1.
G1.
Oh,
G1. That is. Oh. G1,
So we need to know
yes.
what side of the
Now,
boundary that's
G1, yes, G1.
Mhm.
That's near to those housing complexes. And there's a lot of stacked floorboards there that I think ought to be removed at some point. There's a crack window, page, whatever it is, page 4. A large specimen on the southern side of the watercourse. The ownership of this tree should be established prior to undertaking any work. The tree is regrown pollard, that is partially capped, requires pollarding in the interest of safety. Just bringing that to mind. The next one, A2. Oh, cracked willow. A large mature, reduce the crown. Yellow spot. We don't need to do anything with that for 2 years. Or cracked willow, a hollow specimen.
Okay. Well,
I think really and truly, I have gone through this time and time again on page 6A4. That's a priority one. Fallen tree on the far side of the watercourse, partly fallen and is hung up on another tree. Now, the problem I have with all these, A3, A4, and all those, we ought to be going out to consultation in Fairview, because they back up to Fairview. And I know some residents there want to keep the willows because it's a barrier between. So we should be asking the people down there for either a consultation or something. The whole of the work that is required at this moment in time ought to go out to tender.
Yes, was my next question.
That was before Martin said anything, because that's what I was going to suggest.
So,
I'm suggesting that the priority 1 work is done now, or are you suggesting it's all done now?
I've got 1863 to be done up to nesting. 1864 is a priority. 1865 is a priority 1. So they're the main 3. The rest we need to determine whose ownership they are.
Yes, we do.
So those 3 we need quotes on for that work.
Yes, but we also need to know who's 1861. It's not ours, and it's over a water pipe.
Well, yeah, we'll look into that then, Joyce. So
Should we have a consultation between the 3 of us
Yeah.
as to which is which?
And then I'll get some quotes and then we'll bring it back to council.
But priority ones and that ACE 1861 has got to be determined.
So you're suggesting that we concentrate on priority 1s only at this stage?
Yes, I think so.
Plus the 1861 and the G1, we find out
Who
owns
they
it.
all belong to.
Clearly 1861 is not ours, but G1 we're not sure at
Yeah.
this point.
I think 1861 might be disputed on it.
Councillor Brooks.
Yes, I thought the lady, because she's quite good, had covered the things about the boundaries, but I would say that 1863 is outside our boundary, and there could be some doubt about 1865. I know lines can be a bit funny, but I would like them to be checked as well, please, 1863 and 1865.
Is that a proposal?
Well, it's what everybody's talking at the moment about what they want to do.
Did you have any response to that, Joyce?
Yes, it's riparian ownership, and really and truly, those 1863, it looks as though it's on others on the other bank.
Mm.
But if it's on our bank, then it's riparian ownership, whether it's our boundary or not.
And 18, so that's 1863, and you feel 1865.
62,
Fine.
1862 and 1863.
63.
Well, yeah, you could say 1862
Oh, beg your
on
pardon.
the boundary line, which I would assume is probably ours, but
Yes,
That's
it's
looking at-
riparian
Chairman,
ownership. That is the
Do you mind
problem.
if I say something?
Yes.
I think given the confusion that is beginning to rain down, there's three things that will come out of this report. One is that there's a proposal put forward that we do consultation where trees maybe want to be retained, or consultation in relation to the amount of work. So the proposal around consultation with the public. Two, a proposal that we establish exact ownership in relation to the trees that have been mentioned. I'm not going to go through the numbers again. And three, a further proposal that we go out to tender on all the works.
Yes, exactly.
And then we treat all those three as one proposal from them.
If the council are happy with that.
Is there a second? So, all those in favour? Unanimous?
Thank you,
it's a
Roger.
full
Yeah,
report.
all slightly- yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Joyce, as well, for the report. It does help.
It's a good report.
Oh, yes, thank you, Joyce.
I don't mind it.
Sorry? No,
Item
I-
11 then is the bin at Park Lane.
Oh, yes.
We have Appendix C.
Hmm.
Who would like to open on that?
Are you wanting comment?
This is the bin, isn't it? It's a bin.
This is the bin, and it's the letter of an email rather sent in from Kate Harris to Alison. Yes, Councillor Brooks.
I'm quite pleased that the council are going to put a bin there, because I have heard that the resident has complained.
So I didn't say that again.
The resident has complained for a long time to Rutland County Councillors about this, but I'm slightly miffed that they're coming to us for a cost of a bin for £150. I don't think the council's that broke, but I'd like to know where they get them from, because they're obviously cheaper than what we pay for bins. But
Well, yeah, can we
so
can we
I-
stick to the agenda item, please? We've talked about we've got a quote from RCC for a bin.
yeah. So I'm just making a comment that I find it quite extraordinary
Yeah,
that they're just
okay,
asking us to pay for it, when in the past as well, when we've asked for
Yeah, but
additional bins, they said they couldn't afford to empty
They
them.
are asking us to pay for it, so we've decided whether we
Yeah.
want to pay for it or not. I think there's another issue there. There's a capital cost of it to start with, and then are there on costs, continuing on costs, which would fall to us for emptying it. Joyce.
I was contacted by a resident about this, and we went on a walkabout. Actually, Park Lane is a public right of way. It's not a footpath. But the developers have put some street lighting in, and they're saying, but we're not going to put a footpath in towards Catmus College. The other nearest Park Lane is a public right of way. It's not a footpath. There's a big difference. Now, I went with the two residents, and I met others on the way, and quite frankly, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. I know there are worse places in Oakham.
Can I ask, Joyce, when did you visit? Because
Sorry, Tracy.
sorry, I was just going to ask Councillor Winters when she visited, because as part of when we did Clean for the Queen, that was an area that we targeted. And
Well,
we
I've been cleaned.
we cleaned that up significantly, and we got a lot of rubbish because, again, a hell of a lot of rubbish from that area, because it is through there, whether we like it or not, that is an area that people use to get from the Care Village or to the college. And
Yes.
also, there are a number of people using that now as a car park.
Yes.
For the town and for the train station, so I can't absolutely say it's just kids throwing rubbish.
Oh,
out.
I wouldn't think
So,
very,
so I'm just saying, I think
Okay,
this
so
should be
observation
mentioned.
of pins.
I personally feel, in view of the on-costs that we may incur and the price of £150, that it's small fry compared to the state of the town that it would look like if we didn't have a bin in place.
Yeah.
So my proposal would be to fully endorse and support the instalment of a new bin at the cost of £150.
I think
Just before we take that proposal, do we know if we would incur any ongoing costs
It
for
doesn't say
emptying?
that, does it?
emptying, you mean?
Emptying.
For emptying.
No idea.
I,
Well, yeah, you'd have to be, there would be some place, surely.
Yes, there will be.
Do we know who would empty it or?
I had this conversation with Richard a long time ago. That I'd like to see any replacement bins or something like this, a new bin going up, be the bins that have the ashtrays, because they actually work.
Oh, yeah.
They stop people throwing their cigarette ends down.
Okay, well, I think like a Martin.
yes, so Vince did a proposal which said for £150, but they do say approximately. So I would like to say we support it, but they've got to come back with the exact cost before we finalise it, because we don't want to end up getting an invoice and it could be a lot more. It doesn't actually say about ongoing costs. I don't think we will have any ongoing costs, but I think it needs to be clarified before we.
So,
We mentioned about finding out who would empty it. I think we need to find out whether anybody will empty it as well, because if they don't, we're on.
that's a very good point, choice.
Second line down, it says the cost to provide a post-mounted bin. It's not a Victoriana.
It's one of those little
So I'm wondering if, with Tracy's comment, whether a post-mounting bin
There needs to be a bigger bin.
is going to be big enough.
Depends how often it's emptied.
Well, exactly. We can't make a decision on that.
I think we're sort of, these little green post-mounted bins, we have done them before where the council's paid for them and we haven't paid ongoing costs. Looking at this, the document says, and this is what we're considering, which is why I would support Vince's proposal, that the cost to provide a post-mounted bin would be approximately £150. It mentions nothing about emptying. So I would second Vince's proposal and just put the caveat that we're only paying to supply the bin. Could they just clarify the final figure before we issue a works order?
Yes.
And if it's in excess of, you know, £250, it comes back to council. But I'd imagine it'd probably be a carriage on there, maybe 20 quid or
So
something.
you're making a counter proposal.
So I would second Vince's thing with the caveat that they just confirm the price, and that if it's a big issue, that Alison points it out to us.
So the proposal is to, if I'm correct, then
The proposal was to install the bin in part with estimated cost of £150 with the added bit.
A caveat that they just come back and confirm what it is.
And with
Whatever the
ashtrays.
caveat that does that there's no cost
Yeah.
to Oakham Town Council for it to be emptied.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Does that make sense, Alison?
And if we get an ashtray and radio on it, it'd be brilliant.
Okay, so, Vince, that's your proposal, Vince.
I'll second that.
Second it. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you all very much. Well, the next one is a request from King Circus, which is Appendix D. It's an email to Alison, and they wish to use the cuts closed from the 6th of March until the 8th of March, presumably inclusive, and actually saying that should be assumed.
It is, I checked with them, they'll have a show Wednesday, so they're gonna
6th
go Wednesday night,
So 6th of the 8th inclusive.
yeah,
3 days.
three whole days,
Okay, so it's 3 whole days.
and they're gonna go Wednesday night.
Okay.
When
Any
do
comments,
we-
observations?
When do we review the rent on
Well,
the park?
to be honest with you, I actually, actually, I think I put 375, that was on £125 a day. But he was saying that they're not going to use electricity, in which case we used to charge them 100. I've told them to charge me 125. So,
They're not using the electricity.
well, he said they may not, but they may now. They think they might be being charged for it. However, the original £100 rates was a year or two ago, so there should be a review anyway.
When do we review all these rents though? I mean, this is for March next year. Will we be reviewing before March?
When did we last?
I don't know the exact date, but it must have been a few years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I make a proposal that we review the rent and go back to them with whatever the council agrees should be a rent for that period of time and get a response from them?
In principle, we agree to the dates subject to them accepting the rent review.
Okay, that's that. Can I say that's a proposal? Thank you very much. I'll second that. Oh, Peter will second
I
that.
wanted to say.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Brooks. What
Yeah,
do you want to
that's
say?
all right.
I didn't see that.
I was told about the electricity thing shouldn't have been included. So if we do that, I'd like to make sure that that's not included, because they were happy last time not to use it. They just used it because it's appeared. They don't use it anywhere else. It's because we had it installed. They just took advantage of it because water was there. That's why they had access. So I'd like the council to make a decision whether they can include electricity or not, because it was never included before.
Also, yeah, that's what I mean. I was going to mention about the rent review because the council rushed through about a year ago some bookings on the subject that was going to be reviewed.
We've already had a proposal to review them.
Yeah.
We don't need to go back.
So what one proposal?
Your proposal again,
To support the date, subject to we finalising what the rent review would be for 217.
And can it be terms and conditions as well, so they're aware of our new policy of inspection and things. So it's not just rent; it's the whole review of the use of.
We do all risk assessments and engagement anyway, don't we?
Yeah.
So that's standard operating procedure.
do you have a second?
You seconded it.
Oh, I seconded it. Thank you very much. I do. You're quite right. I just seconded it. Right. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
So who's going to do this rent review then?
Policies and procedures working group.
Procedures, yeah.
No,
13, painting of town benches, which is Appendix E. Appendix E, we have had one quote, which is from G&R Greg. A total amount of 475, are they not VAT registered?
No, they're not.
And so that's inclusive of VAT.
Can I just say something as well?
Of course you
Can I just say
Yeah,
it
go on.
mind? Sorry,
No, no.
Yeah,
Okay, fine. The only thing I will say is Jeff has always done benches, so he knows where they are. Also, as well, he does, which he doesn't include in his quote. He just does it automatically. He keeps parts of the wood or the bent or what they call the slats. And he does then repair them if they need repairing. He does repair it. He's always done that, but he doesn't actually. He only actually charges for the painting, but he does maintain them as he.
That's included in the costs.
I suppose it is, yeah. But he just goes ahead and does it. He doesn't leave it and says, oh, by the way, this needs fixing. He does it as he goes along.
Okay, but it's over £1,000, so we should try and get through. I take the point you made with the getting added value, which certainly is worth noting. But it's over £1,000, so we should be trying to get 3 quotations. Whether you can get them or not is another matter. So my proposal, any more comments?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
but just a couple of minor things. Did you say they weren't that registered,
They're not, no.
but it says that registered number at the top?
It doesn't do.
Oh, right, they used to be that registered, I need to tell people that
Oh,
gentleman
it's
on
only a
that.
technical
Yeah, no,
point,
he,
it's-
they were that registered, I'll
There's nothing
mention that
wrong.
to him, they obviously haven't changed their header,
Are you saying they're not
they're
that?
not that
Then
registered, no.
we need, in that sense, we need a new quotation from them to be excluded.
Yeah.
Otherwise that potentially gives us a problem.
I mean, the other point, it says valid for 1 month and the month has gone, so it would be prudent to get an update and check the VAT at the same time.
Yes, Councillor Brooks.
Some of the things I was going to raise, I'm not happy with this quotation at all. This man has never been that registered in the time I've known the council. All his invoices
Well, I
say,
think
Has.
we've already
They're all-
covered that.
but
Councillor
Yeah,
Brooks.
but,
Can we stick to the agenda item?
I am talking about the
We-
agenda
we
item.
have
Will
already-
you not interrupt me, please, and let me finish? This is what you do to me.
While I'm chairing the meeting, Councillor Brooks,
Yeah, and I have some
What-
serious concerns which I want to express with this council.
well, just, I have already said to you,
Yes.
Councillor Brooks, that we have covered the VAT. Alison has been asked to check that. I don't see any point in revisiting that. Anything else you want to add?
I'm allowed to make a comment as a councillor that I am concerned about the way
Councillor
the
Brooks,
council
I'm chairing
conducts
the
business
meeting,
with
I'm
this man.
asking you to, I've told you we've already covered that. If there's anything else you want to add, we will listen. If there's not, we will move on.
But I am allowed to have my opinion,
You are allowed to speak.
and I've
when-
given it,
you are
and
allowed
I
to
would
speak,
like to
Councillor Brooks,
continue,
when the
please.
chair agrees to.
But I would like
I've asked you
permission to
move on.
continue.
If you move on, otherwise I'm talking
Yes.
to you.
Now, we paid this gentleman to go out and count how many benches there are. I find it astonishing he's quoting for approximately 44. You don't get approximates when you've paid somebody over £100 to go out and count how many benches there are. This should be tendered because I was promised it would be tendered because I can't think of the word. This is deliberately split into 2 jobs so that it didn't have to go out to tender. There's a very big word which describes it in law what it was called. And at this meeting, it was said that it will go out to tender in future. We've only had 1/2 come back. And the whole thing should be going out to tender as one job as far as I'm concerned. And there are people out there who would be willing to do it. And all this business that it could increase in a month, we're reaching summer. All the DIY stores put their prices down for varnish. You know, that's all he's
Thank you,
doing.
Councillor Brooks.
I'm just concerned that whoever paints the benches in cuts close, that it won't interfere with the band
The ones
concept.
in Patch Close, I think,
Are done.
have done some of them.
Well, there's no point in doing the one on Long Row and one at Wilco's, because we're going to replace those.
Right, I need to check with them.
Okay.
So you're talking about Patch Close when you go. So the one on here, we don't need to do which
Yes.
ones?
I'll just, at the end of the day, I think it's become apparent from listening to comments around the table that we ask if the clerk could please attempt to get 2 additional quotes and defer it until we get 2 additional quotes.
This is what you know.
Yeah, and the people that get the additional quotes can clarify the number of benches. If we find we have a different number from each people, then we'll go on a bench hunt.
Okay.
Sorry, Chairman, we've already paid for a survey.
Martin, last stand to talk. Thank you.
Adam actually covered my point. I was going to say before, we need to know exactly how many benches, and those that, when we've discovered how many benches, those that don't need doing, so we have an accurate number.
Yeah, I agree, and I take on Councillor Brooks's point that the same approximate number is
Can
not.
I just have some,
Very
choice
useful.
which one? I didn't
One
catch it.
outside Wilco, which
Yeah.
has been already agreed,
Yeah.
and one at Long Row, which is a replacement.
Okay, so those two won't need painting.
And in the past, Chairman, in the past, we've been, Mr. Gregg has been painting the ones outside the library which do not belong to us. So make sure that those in front of the library, in the entrance to the library, those are Oakham County Council's. The two at the rear of the library, one of them's mine and one was donated to the town. Those two are ours.
Okay, can I propose then, first of all, we carry out an inventory.
Yes.
So we know, A, where each bench is, so we can put that can go up with the quotation. We know where they are, we know the condition they're in, whether they need painting and or repairing. Once we've got that information, we can then seek, or Alison can seek to get
Yes.
3 quotations, so that way, and we specify how we want them painted. In other words, we want 1 coat, 2 coats, all the materials we need. So we get 3, hopefully we can get 3 quotations back, all quoting to carry out exactly the same work to exactly the same standard. I'm making that as a proposal.
I accept that, Chairman, but we paid last year for that exact survey, so it's got to be here. We paid Greg.
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you.
But you're proposing that we spend more money to go out and do a survey, so I can't accept that. We paid for it last year.
Councillor Brooks, please.
Why can't you do it?
Joyce,
Sorry.
with a proposal, let's just clarify it, please. The proposal is that 1, we ascertain where the benches are. We ascertain the condition they're in, that's a visual inspection. We, the council, decides how we want them treated, so we've got a standard. Having got that information, having council got that information, we can then, via the clerk, try and secure 3 quotations for carrying out the work that the council determines is necessary. That's my proposal.
I've seconded that.
That's seconded. All those in favour?
Chairman, can I ask where the
All those
report
against.
is we paid for last year, so we don't need to
Councillor
propose it?
Brooks, it's quite clear from the discussions, we're not certain where they are. So that's the proposal. Are you voting for or against that?
Well, I can vote for the
Are you
work to be
voting for-
tendered,
are
but I
you
cannot,
voting-
I'd like it split into parts, please.
Well, are you voting for the proposal or not?
I'd like the proposal split
Are
into
you-
sections,
you
because
want
I'm
to-
not going to say that we
Take
go
that.
out and spend money.
Would that no then?
We not have it split into the
No, we've
parts.
already voted.
So why are we going to pay?
Because
Again, we
we-
paid this man, I think it was £260.
The parts one we've already.
We did the whole
we've
town.
We've already given him a works order for the
Chairman,
parts.
we're voting.
We've already-
We're just wasting.
Yeah, we're going to move on. We'll record that as a no.
Just for the benefit of the minutes, I did make a proposal which I'll withdraw.
Oh.
Okay,
Why?
because counter proposal was made that was voted on.
Oh, yeah, I've got Michael down, yeah.
So you want the original
What's the
proposal on
second?
your.
Oh,
No, just make a point of note, councillor withdrew his proposal.
Chairman, can I just clarify one thing while we've voted on it? This survey, is it going to be done by a professional person or are the volunteers going to do it so that we don't have cost?
We already have a survey done, that was done a year or 2
So
ago.
we voted for it.
Right, fine.
So no, we can have, if you haven't, we don't
Can I
have to pay
suggest
for another one.
That's all
We've
right.
already got one, so if anybody,
I'll do
I
it.
can give you the
I'll do
one,
it.
I can give you the one that we've already got.
have a copy
Yeah.
I'll do it.
And as far as the parks one goes, we've already given him a work order for the parks ones, so this is just for the town ones.
Well, let me have that email.
Okay.
So there will be no cost.
Yeah, we know what's the tax.
Chairman, can I just
Move to vote on this.
make an observation, so that we can move on? We've had a proposal, we've had a split and seconded, we voted, we've now got a volunteer to go and check the benches, which is Vince.
That's good.
Everything is covered. And
Yes.
can we now
Yeah,
please?
we'll do so.
move on?
Item number 15
14, replacement of park signs.
14, sorry, I apologise, replacement of park signs, appendix F. Jasmine.
I'm just wondering whether we ought to swap the agenda items round, because the next one is to discuss centenary fields, which could be open, be anywhere, but just in case there's the possibility that one of the two parts have already got voted on, this includes signage.
That's a valid point. You're in agreement?
Yes, I would second the proposal by Councillor Hopkins that we consider item 15 now, before we consider the flat signs.
All those in favour?
Yeah.
Okay, unanimous, so we've gone to 15. So 15, this is the centenary fields appendix G. Who'd like to open on that?
I will be open on this, and this is all to do with World War I commemoration, and this letter came to Oakham Town Council from the British Legion and the Centenary Fields Committee, and basically what it is, we're not giving anything away, we're not having to pay for anything unless we have an enhancement done to a sign. In recognition of the back of the song, if you read the letter, it's sort of saying that we're going to state that one of our areas of green open space, i.e. cuts close, will be recognised as a centenary field. And it's a form of recognition of the sacrifice of people in the First World War. And I think the reason that Jasmine suggested this is brought before the other one is that if we have sign, we need new signage on the green spaces, is that sign could probably incorporate the fact that it's mentioned as a centenary field. Is that correct, Jasmine?
There is. The other thing I've thrown it on there, this about the green spaces. The part of the neighbourhood plan is to identify any additional green spaces. So it does put in a potential additional area, yet to be determined or not determined. That's going to take another couple of years to get to that point. So we've got the parts that we own, which council may wish to consider, or there's a potential for additional open spaces identified by the neighbourhood plan. That's much, we look at a couple of years or so to get to that point. We've got to add that as a caveat.
Yeah, before we go to Martin, because obviously no one wants to speak, but because this is very much in our face, and because it is leaning only towards a 90-year agreement, I mean, we have at least 3 or 4 areas now that, for the sake of, for what it is, we've got the Royces, we've got cuts, and we also have the green space at Farnborough Road. So we have got places where we could make that impact sooner rather than later. And because I think the idea is it's adopted within this commemoration period, and 217 is the battle.
Well, it's the period,
Up to
2014 to 2018.
Yeah.
That would take
It would take us
out of that
very
vote.
close to
So
that's the fundamental.
But anyway,
I quite like the idea of this, but I think it's a little bit more than naming a field. And I have a concern because of the history of a park up in Oakham that's been handed over in a similar way. Although it says that we will be responsible for the management of it, I believe that the other town has come across some issues by following a similar scheme. They're saying they're going to protect this piece of land for indefinitely. I don't believe we would be able to, without consultation with Tresham, to do that on a piece of land that we lease. So that's the problem. It would be nice to think we could protect that last piece of open field in the town, but I'm not 100% convinced from the piece of paper that it is as straightforward without having some reassurance and checking of what we are actually giving away indefinitely. Does that make sense? I'm concerned about legal implications.
Okay, that's a good point, thank you very much. Tracy.
I would then argue back to say that you mentioned similar, not same, so you're raising something on the lines of similarity, not the same. If you was to say Uppingham went down this route with this organisation and they've encountered these problems, then yes, I would probably have same concerns. But you haven't said who they have gone with. You said similar, not the same.
Would you like Chairman please clarify? I don't know the exact organisation, but I can clarify that they were told that it would protect their park in the same way for whatever specific reason, and then they found there's issues of what they can and cannot do with it.
Peter.
That's my concern.
I can clarify this. We're talking about Todd's piece, which is the main, well, the only green space in the town centre, and I think it was done from memory with Fields and Trust.
Yes,
which
that's
is,
the principle.
which is the heading here.
Principle.
And what it means is you do lose a bit of control. When you want to do anything, you have to write to them and they have to give approval. I don't think it's anything sinister or serious, but it's something to bear in mind.
Can we find out about from Tresham College about the Barleythorpe Road, because both Royce's and Cuts Close have their own history. Now I believe that the taking on the lease of Barleythorpe Road was to keep it as a green space, but it is just a green space with nothing, so this would be quite a nice thing to do, but would it need to be clarified with Tresham College first?
No, the Cots Close nor Royce's Wreck are fields, there are parks. Now, I go along with Jasmine on this one, but Tresham is on a lease for something like 99 years. In 2 years' time, that plaque will be coming down. And I think it is a field. End of story. Whereas the other two are parks, they're not fields. So let's just not get tied up.
Yeah, we are getting tied up, and to draw, if we read the document, it does say in this paragraph on page 1, once an appropriate site has been agreed, your council will be required to complete a deed of dedication to protect the green space for 90 years in perpetuity. Please note that this does not require any change to the ownership and management of the site, which remains entirely at your local level.
Yeah.
So there's no hidden clauses. We can verify it before we sign over, but it's people read these documents, it becomes apparent that there's, I'm sure that people aren't doing anything sinister, which seems to be the underlying flame on everything in this council.
Can I clarify one thing now? We're just looking for a principle.
Yes.
We're not actually sort of signing the red tape or anything like that. We're just looking for a yes in principle, aren't we?
Yeah, but we can do all the legwork.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so, is anyone like to make it?
Can I propose Barleythorpe Road field?
No, second that.
Okay, so the proposal is
The land at Barleythorpe Road.
land at Barleythorpe Road
Is from Graveyard.
Is explored as potential for this.
Explored as a potential, yes.
Okay, and second.
They will probably come back to
Okay,
council.
proposal and second. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Chairman, do you want me to move this? Do you want me to pick this up and rather than give it to the clerk to do? Do you want me to follow it through and find out all the information regarding it?
Are you happy with that?
I may as well, yeah, because there is a thing on here as well before we get onto the signage bit. On the first line on the back page, it says Eastern Tree Field will be provided with signage indicating its designated status, enabling a local event to be arranged to mark the site's dedication as part of centenary commemorations. And that could all link in with the PPWG next year or with the World War I Commemoration Committee. But I can iron out to make sure that there aren't any charges for the signs, and I'll bring that all back to council.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're all happy with that?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So that then takes us on to item 14, which is the replacement of park signs, appendix A. Yes, please.
The only concern I've got is that we are replacing as original sign when it has been highlighted on numerous occasions that visitors to the town, whether they are English speaking or not, don't necessarily understand the signage. So we've got an opportunity here to actually look at multilingual signs and potential signs for Braille and other ways of displaying Oakham parks, etc. So I wouldn't be happy to go along with this. I think it needs investigating a little more, whether we look at multilingual signs and a bit of Braille.
Or you can have visual ones with a tree, a swing or a slide.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's just my rambling.
Like symbols as opposed to.
In addition to what Vince said as well, I remember it being discussed a while ago about having like a sentence of history on that park, which that being investigated. I think at the time we were talking, it was Cuts Close. We were talking about that
Information sign,
to have a bit of information about the park as well.
Can I think you were
No, so
referring
can we just, Martin says, I'll come back to you, Martin. Thank you. Yes, Martin.
Okay. Yes, I can refer, and Joyce will remember this, to the Green Flag report, and it didn't like our signs. I can't say the word, something utilitarian, or something very sort of council, when perhaps they should be a bit more park-like. I can't remember the exact word, but also in 2010, this council promised to put Braille stickers on them. I was on the council then, and it was my proposal, and I don't want to sound like some pity, but I've repeated it many times over the years why we haven't got it, and it just doesn't happen. So
you're advocating.
But also the opportunity is here that at one time people suggested that there should be wooden boards with perhaps the name and some more facility to put our events notice in. So I think we should perhaps be looking at something totally different that looks more in keeping for a park situation. And the Green Flag will like that when they come to judge.
It may be that Jasmine was recalling a conversation which was attached to the castle restoration project.
Yes, that was.
Where it was being suggested that in conjunction with that, or they might, perhaps in exchange for having moved the railings, provide a sign that embodied some history into the close.
Sorry.
I'm going to show my ignorance perhaps, but do we have a heritage trail here? Again, it's something that's been done.
Yes.
Does it fit in with that? Because the one in Uppingham, you can put your mobile phone in, it will give you an audio feedback, and it's got braille and everything. So there are opportunities, but you may have done it before, I don't know. I just tried in.
We've got paste on
Thank you.
heritage.
Right, so how do we move this on?
Well, it sounds like somebody did make a proposal that this is pushed off to a working group to look at some kind of alternative sign system.
Which working group would you suggest?
The clerk wants to say.
Martin did put it down.
Promotions of working group, I think, might be the ideal group to do it, because the signage is a promotion thing, and there was talk on the council of having facilities that would help that group promote our events. That's my suggestion.
Before I'll just come back to you in a moment. Martin Allison, you want to say something?
The reason this came to council is because Councillor Lucas asked, because the signs at Voices were damaged, is that right?
Yes.
They're all and also you said that no camping on there?
Yes.
Yeah, so that had to be part.
Chairman, can I suggest that we replace the signs we've got at the moment with the extra wording at Voices, and we look in, actually Alison and I have been looking into interpretation boards, interpretive boards anyway, and just let's put that on the back burner until about July, August time, because it's more involved than you think.
No, we got, is that a proposal?
The proposal is, let's just get these green signs redone for the time being. But the other
Okay,
one,
that's not a proposal that the voices. The other proposal was, I believe, that's the,
The working group reviews different style of signage.
before we do anything.
The clarification on Joyce's proposal to go with the green signs comes from about £500 plus VAT.
Okay, so we take Joyce's proposal first, do we have a second?
Can I just clarify, did you just say that the council are looking into doing signs for the park?
no, I've been in touch with the Woodhouse, Helen Woodhouse, to ask if she could help us by putting, it's all work in progress, so don't start shooting bullets at the moment, please. To help us to put some interpretive signs in Cuts Close. Now that is a very big job and very expensive job, and it might take another year before we can get it right. So let's go off at half measure. I wasn't going to use that word. Let's just put the green signs up with the added signs that Roy says, the added wording that Roy says. I go along with Braille. I've been saying Braille for a long time, but if you start putting foreign language on, where do you stop on that one? So I propose, let's just replace those and let us get on with the job that we're trying to do with Helen.
Okay, let's just go on, Martin.
I remember Joyce bringing up the situation of the information sign, so I take them personally as being a different thing.
Yes.
I would like to see the three parks, because you forgot Willow Crescent. Willow Crescent has appalling signs. They say Rutland District Council own it. You know, that's how bad they are at the moment. So we need to look at our welcome signs. And I don't want to, as Adam pointed out, the figure there, compared to what we spend on other things, it's not considerable. But it seems a pity to go out and just replace those green signs for a few months later to go and buy some nice posh wooden ones.
No.
So
Okay, Martin.
I would like to.
All right, Joyce, please, Michael, you want to?
Well, there's a couple of things that result from what you said, Joyce. Richard had embarked on talking with English Heritage, had he not, about...
Sorry, here.
Richard had embarked, did he not, on talking with English Heritage about investment in Cuts Close as an adjunct to the castle project, including paved ways and
Railings and interpretive boards.
Are you referring
to that?
You are. Well, that's a 2 or 3 year project.
Exactly, that's one. Yes.
Right. No, that's the first point. And the second one is that in the meantime, there was reference some months ago to the Castle Project Board paying for a Cuts Close sign as a part of the Castle Project Board. A request should go, could they do that? Because it's adjoining. So that's separate. That's separate from the English Heritage 3 year project.
Historic England.
Sorry.
I wouldn't like to see just a like for like, because I think this is an opportunity, even if it's just a 2 year measure, to put in at least symbols. If we can't go through different languages, and I appreciate that, where do we stop? But symbols are used in other environments, in hospitals and prisons, etc., where you've got different languages, you've got people who can't read very well. Symbols are used to indicate what exactly is there, and I think there is an opportunity to actually, at the very least, add in some additional information rather than do a like for like.
Okay, so the position we're in at the moment, existing signs, how urgent is it that they are replaced?
They're scruffy.
They're scruffy.
Battered in some cases.
That's it. So we've got the option then to, or suggestions or proposals, that one is that we replace the existing signs with like for like now, because the existing ones are suffering. We have a proposal, I believe, that the publicity working group as part of it was a project to look at replacing all of our signs in the parks with something bigger, better, more up to date, whatever they want to come up with, and bring costed proposals, back to council for further consideration. Am I correct?
Are you suggesting interpretive signs?
No, I'm just trying to. I'm just trying to bring together. There's been lots of talk around the table. I think that the two proposals, and correct me if I'm wrong. One proposal is that we replace existing signs like for like on the grounds of existing ones scruffy. The second proposal is that the publicity working group looks at the whole issue for all of the parks and comes back to councils with proposals for something different, whatever they might come up with, which is costed for council to consider at some future meeting. Would that
it sums it up, but it doesn't necessarily, if they're not happy as a working group, to do it. But perhaps there's another group of councillors who would like to do it.
I'll just jump in as you've alluded to. Sorry, Chair. I'll just jump in because you've alluded to it. I'm more than happy to design signs, but I wasn't going to.
I wasn't asking you to.
Yes, and you've already said I used to run a sign business, so I'm more than happy to do it. However, I'm more than happy to go with the flow as well.
So we've got two proposals. Can we take the first proposal then, which is Joyce's? The proposal is that we replace like for like at the cost of £64 each, £69 with the prices that are here plus the fitting plus VAT. Is there a second for this? No? Okay, so that one falls. The second one is that Adam's proposal.
Yes, so that we get PPWG go out and look at alternative sign styles, designs, whatever. I'm not going to try and create what it is because I'm a hamstring them.
Brings it back to council. Costed proposals.
Ideally, ideas and costs, so the council can make an informed direction
for some future meeting. So are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Do we have a seconder for that proposal? I think Peter, you've got 1 millisecond, so that's Peter's second. All those in favour?
Does that mean we put up with the scruffy signs all through the bank?
Yes, it does.
No, I'll make some new ones.
Are you voting for that?
Yes.
Okay, that's unanimous.
Can I just make a proposal, because we're allowed to in a meeting, that we remove the battered signs? That would help. We remove the battered signs. The ones that are damaged are taken away.
Remove the existing damaged signs. Do you have a second for that?
Yes. Yeah.
Those in favour?
Is that something Greg can do?
Those in favour?
Yeah, because some of them are potentially unreadable and damaged to the point where they could be dangerous.
Okay, I'll work that as well.
So it's unanimous.
That's
Do you remove-
Test post that as well, just to sign off.
I'd leave the face there.
Proposal was to remove the signs.
This is the voices and
The most,
Willow and
the most badly damaged signs.
and Willow.
Well, I'd like the Rutland District Council one with their phone number removed from Willow's.
That one, Willow. So
Willow
Joyce, please.
Willow Crescent doesn't belong to us.
No,
It is leased, so it is still RCC's property.
We don't touch that then.
So we need to sort out the wording on that. It is not owned by Oakham Town
Okay, I
Council.
understand.
Well, I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay.
I do that.
We're going to replace this, we're going to remove the existing signs at Cuts and Royces.
Yeah.
The very badly damaged.
So just to confirm, how are we going to determine which of the badly?
I'll go around there quick survey.
Well, can I get another second there?
And then, yeah,
Okay, well,
Vince and I will do a quick survey.
Yeah, do it. Someone will listen to the band.
No objections to that.
That'll save money.
Right, planning applications. And the first one is Mr. Nick White to change the use of Class B1 office to physiotherapy podiatry sports injury clinic.
Storage, is it storage?
No, we have to do balance this on. This is what you're going to do.
That's good.
We're very technical here.
Latest technologies. The colour won't matter. You only do that what we had. It takes me 10 minutes to get the
Lovely.
Using the fiddle with the sort of that is
Sure.
Which you need to do this one.
Push it in a bit.
yeah, just push it in
That's it.
and
Take it off completely. You might have loosened it under your lap again.
can't it again. It might be in my
Really? That's fine.
nobody agrees sort of strain on it.
It's getting there.
That takes ages to get right.
Is everybody? As well to treat ourselves, maybe review them.
Yes.
Well, that's 62.5 hours.
Hmm.
Where is it? This is the little thing by the police station.
You just look it again. It's just divided it a little bit and press it down.
Yeah.
Let me know when it's on.
That's it. That's as good as it's going to get.
So, let's take
It's,
some
it's the weights and measures where adjacent to the police station.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's the building, not many people know the weights and measures.
And it was a probation office at one time, wasn't it?
There's the weights and measures building, it's the one with the police, or the one that had the police sign on it.
Yeah.
And that's going to be cutting corners and things. That's what we're doing.
Physiotherapy.
Oh, they'll look after the nice little buildings.
It's only a change of use.
Yes.
So everything still closed.
Yes.
Been proposed a second. Peter seconded it. All those in favour?
Yes. No, you.
That's unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. Second one, Mrs. Nicola Wills, drop curb for vehicular access 95 Burley Road.
Is that on the left hand side or now? The big extension. Oh,
No, it's to the right.
now where's that?
So,
I know it's better.
Yes, it's on the right, it's going
to
over.
the right.
Where?
On the right as you're going out. Mr. Somebody's
Yeah.
They were into that.
Have we got a map?
Wills, what?
Rather than that.
But we only want to see the actual property.
It's true, I've got a bit of time.
Now where is it?
It's on the right.
See, it's probably parking.
It's on the side where the allotments are, that helps.
I just like what to pay for it.
Yeah, about £5 to do that.
Proposed by Joyce, seconded by Vince, all those in favour? Thank you, that's that one, and the last one, so Mrs. Sharp, single story extension, plus other minor alterations on rail.
Is that the one with the brown tree?
Is that bit on the side?
Can you just give us a map? Is there a map? The one with the tree. There. Yes. I know it's on the floor, it's just, is it Jack Matthews on the house?
Well, it's one on the corner.
Jack
This
Matthews.
is the back,
Yes,
isn't
it
it?
is. Oh, it's brilliant.
Sure.
Is that it's the back of the,
And I believe other properties in that area.
Oh, no, no problem.
post?
Those are good.
Yeah.
Both was it, seconded. I stand, those in favour, that's it.
Right.
Okay. 8:17.
That's all, thank you very much.